All right, Hattie. And with last time I saw you was what?
20, I'm gonna say 20 probably, 21, right? When they moved you off the block? Did they move you off the block too when they did the pandemic?
Yeah, I can't. I went from. It was on J Block, right?
Right,
Yeah, I went from the one side to the other side.
right. When they did the pandemic, right?
Yeah, yeah, like right in the middle of it because I was trying to rally people up with covering their windows to protest, and the unit manager was like, "Yeah, we can't have that," so he
Oh,
moved me to the other side.
that was the new lady we had just got, right?
No, it was Miller, and it was actually I moved over there right when that guy killed his cellie. He was in the cell right above me.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. That was right before the pandemic type stuff they were trying to do to us.
yeah, yeah. That was so yeah, because they didn't really lock us down at that point.
Right. I remember. I remember. Damn, yeah, man, you look good though, bro.
So do
I
you,
see.
man.
I
That
see. I just your studio
Phoenix.
setup behind you. That's decent.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I like that. I like that. You look nice, man.
Well, where you at with your appeal? You were doing one of the exceptions, right?
Right, right. Because this is my fourth PCRA, truthfully.
Okay.
So yeah. So from the beginning, um, I asked for a hearing. What's I'm looking for? A suppression hearing pertaining to my statement, my own statement on myself, and she denied it. Of course, she denied it.
I remember.
And then um, I filed the appeal on. Of course, the first lawyer he filed an appeal on insufficiency of the evidence, so forth and so on. Boilerplate joint. They denied me. I went up to the Superior Court. They denied me all the way through. The second one I put in, I believe I put in on
What year was the first one filed?
the year, I
Yeah.
think 2010,
When were you sentenced?
2008.
Was
No, 2000. I got sentenced in 2007, at the end of 2007.
did you file a direct appeal or an initial PCRA like within that 1 year?
Yes, I followed direct appeal all the way through. Then I followed the PCRA. My first PCRA, I let old head Duck do it, and he brought up this issue. I don't know if you remember the issue everybody was talking about pertaining to 1101 don't fit statutory. 1101 say that to be sentenced, you have to be sentenced by the jury to life or
Oh
death,
yeah,
right?
I remember
So
a few people bringing that up.
right,
Like
and I
Duck.
followed that. Right, exactly, and
Damn.
that was my first PCRA. I messed that up because I thought that what happened was when I fired my lawyer, because I had a court appointed lawyer, and I asked her to put that issue in with my issues, she denied me. She no, I don't think that's gonna work. Boo, 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 boo. I was like, all right, just put it in anyway. But because she didn't do it, and I'm listening to first time upstate and not knowing the law, I said, well, I'm gonna fire you, and I'm just gonna put it myself. But what happened when I filed it as pro se, I didn't bring all the other issues up with it. I just filed that issue in there, and not knowing I messed that up, I lost up all my issues. So that was the first PCRA. The second PCRA was against Renee Carver Hughes' jury instructions, which was the reasonable doubt joint. That a lot of people going back got a lot of rhythm on because she said that she used it a doctor analogy or something like that in her jury instructions, which which inflamed the passion of the juries or something like that. It
Right.
allowed them to make the decision. Oh yeah, they're guilty. So I used that. I went in on that. I'm untimely. Of course, because I had already did my first piece of ROK and everything, and that's years later. So they untimely up to the Supreme, up to the feds. I tried to get in the feds on it. I asked for a second HABE, and they denied me. Of course, I said okay. Then this one here, I think this is my third one. Oh yeah, this one here, I put in on the cop. I have a detective in my case. Newly discovered evidence. Found out that it was Brady violation. That this cop, had misconduct against him. He interviewed two of the witnesses in my case. I basically said that this is what he did. He coerced the witnesses in my case. The judge ruled negative, saying it's
Because
not a negative.
he had a history of that,
He had a
vaping,
history of it. Right,
and the prosecution knew that
right,
because he was on that
exactly.
list. That
For sure.
and I've talked about that before. That list, that do not
No
call
call.
list. That's what I think they
Right,
called it. That's what the
right,
courts
and,
actually had a name for. Do not call, because these were witnesses, police officers that they knew were corrupt. So do not call them to testify.
right. And
Yeah.
he was definitely one of them. He was one of them.
Mhm.
Uh, he was found. His misconduct was coercing witnesses and lying, actually lying, and on the stand. So I bring that up in my PCRA. I have Judge Bronson. Oh man, he's the worst. He's the worst. But he's an older guy. He pro police, pro DA. You know what I'm saying?
They all are. Well, not
Yeah,
all, but the majority. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's been on the bench for almost over 30 years or
He's
something
still
like
there.
that. So yeah, he's still there. Horrible. Because I say that because my lawyer, I got a good lawyer. I got Zach Goldstein, and he literally, when he filed it, and the judge responded, he was like, "Man, I don't understand this judge." He said, "I don't get it." I said, "I don't get it either because it's clearly Brady. He didn't say it's untimely. I just got his opinion back last week, and basically in his opinion, he's basically saying that even though even though this is timely, even though I'm saying about these Brady violations, I meet the first two prongs, but I don't meet the materiality of it.
The
You
first
know what I'm
two
saying?
prongs of the Brady, which are one of them's prejudice, right?
The prongs is the evidence had to be hidden
Un
or
Unknown to
unknown,
the defense.
right? It had to be either exculpatory or something, something,
Yeah.
right? And it had to prove prejudice.
Yeah, yeah. It had to have prejudiced the
I mean,
defense.
you have to be material. Yeah, you have to be
Yeah.
material to the defense. So he's saying that I meet the first two prongs, but I don't meet the materiality because there's no one in my case who the so-called detective interviewed and they recanted their statements. He said nobody did that. So even though he did this in other cases, ain't nobody, none of your witnesses saying that. So how does it fit in your case? It's no nexus. But my argument is this: when it comes down to a Brady claim, if the Brady is can be used, then I could have changed my whole argument of the case. If I would have knew that the detective was corrupt, I could have cross-examined the witnesses that he interviewed and bring up his corruption in the case and could have challenged the whole investigation of the case because he was the lead detective.
Right.
So that's material. That makes it the
He
whole thing material.
he was the lead detective.
He was the lead detective.
When they tell, like, out here you always see it on the news. It's like rule or law 101. You don't want to testify on your behalf because then the prosecution can bring up stuff from your past. It's sort of like you open yourself up. Um,
Hmm.
and that's why they had these cops on that list, because if you could call them up, and if you knew that was going on, then you could have brought that up. Same
Right.
thing, just backwards. Instead of the
Yeah.
defense, it's the prosecution. And
Right.
I actually am against the whole telling somebody to not testify on their behalf. I think it's actually a good thing. For at least in most cases, I thought if you would have testified, the jury could have probably got a better idea of what happened. And who cares
Right.
if they brought up your past? I mean, nothing was relatable. You're charged with murder. When you were 17, you had a robbery or you stole a candy bar. You know what I
Right.
mean? I feel like they do that just like scare people out of testifying.
And on advice of my counsel, I did not testify. And I told him, I said, listen, man, this statement is coerced. I said, listen, I was high. I had Xanaxes the day before. I was used the day before. I took Xanax, and I'm from Philly. I took that purple syrup and the goddamn pills.
I
So
remember, yeah, that was big back then too. I don't know if it's still big now. They sold
yeah,
they used to
yeah,
sell bottles with it and the pill, like I think taped to it, but I think it was a
yup,
Percocet or something. I
yeah.
forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thing. So I was high when they locked me up, and they didn't start questioning me till 20 hours later because I was coming off of my high. You see what I'm saying? The whole time when they first came in there, I was like, "Get the fuck out of here! I ain't got no rap." At the time, I should have just asked for a lawyer right then and there, but they didn't come
All
in
of
there and
us.
they didn't read me my Miranda rights. They just came in. We got questions. Well, get the fuck, I ain't got no rap for y'all. All right, well, I'm gonna tell you what. Then they start telling me what the girl said, what my rappy said. And I'm like, man, get the fuck out. I ain't got no rap, blah, blah, blah. Now, of course, I responded to certain things they were saying about the situation. Like, yeah, I don't know about that. That ain't what happened, boo, boo, boo. And I mean, they wound up leaving coming back. But once the pills and the juice hit me, it was too late. They can't talk to me no more. Because now I'm on my, you know how uh, I start dipping out, you know what I'm saying, from the drugs, from going in and out because I'm high. So they stopped questioning me. Then they came back in after a time later and start questioning me the next day or whatever. Literally, I asked to go to the bathroom. They wouldn't let me go to the bathroom. I said, "Damn, can I get something to eat or drink?" I don't know how long I've been in here. They wouldn't give me nothing to eat or drink.
Who are you
Literally,
asking? Was
I'm
the
asking.
baker?
It was the detectives. It was Peterman, with the Howard Peterman and Donald Morano. They was my two main detectives.
Were they
Uh,
on the list? I can't
well,
remember the name. I know that list was huge.
no, neither one of them was on the list. However, I don't know if you remember the guy Down Outlaw. Outlaw just got home because he just sued them too. But he had Peterman. In his case, Peterman coerced three witnesses to testify against him. However, he was not found had misconduct that was just in the case. You see what I'm saying? Three witnesses came forward and said that he forced them to testify. He coerced them, but boom. Even one of them even said he tried to pay him. What I did with that is once I got the information, well, mind you, I didn't get that information till last year. I didn't even know nothing about Donald Outlaw. Once I got the information on Peterman, I also filed an issue on Peterman because he's the one who interviewed me. And basically, I was saying, listen, I've been said that a long time ago. This nigga coerced me to make this statement, right? So the judge, in his opinion, said, well, he said Peterman, but it was two detectives in the room. It was Donald Morano and Peterman. He didn't say nothing about Peterman. He didn't say nothing about Morano. But the whole thing is, no, I don't have to say nothing about Morano because there's nothing against Morano. He was in the room with Peterman. Peterman is the one who did it in another case. I'm telling you, they did the same thing in my case. But he said he also accepted it as a Brady. All he said is not material. So now
So the
we're going up
judge,
to
so the judge agrees that it's a Brady. So you meet the prong that it was unknown to you. The
right,
prosecution had the information but didn't give it to you.
right.
But you don't meet the prong that says it could have changed the outcome of your case.
Right. It's not material to your case.
That's sort of like opinion. I mean, how can he say that it's, how would you know? I mean, especially with something like that, it's not like, like something, negligible.
I
That's
agree.
sort of big.
And on top of that, you wasn't even the judge that said in my case. Remember, Renee Carwell Hughes got kicked off the bench. So they put my case in front of another judge who didn't even do my damn case.
When you had your trial,
Right, right.
that
My tr-
judge.
right. My trial judge was Renee Carwell Hughes. Now it's in front of this judge who didn't even do my case.
Well, what
So
happened to that judge?
no, she got kicked off the bench.
Yeah, like disbarred.
Right. Well, no. What they did was they gave her a chance to retire because of the allegations against her. Because she did some shit in some cases. She did something in this one case called Dufferty, where she allowed she said something to the defendant or something and allowed him to do something, or a child or something. Whatever it was, she did something wrong, and the Superior Court chastised her for it. But that wasn't the first time that she had did something like that. So whatever she did was big enough for them to say, listen, but you don't have to get off this stand because you down here tripping. So they gave her time to retire so she didn't get sued. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's it makes me every time I hear something like that, I'll always be like plagued with that memory of our superintendent Smith. Were,
Uh,
were you there when they escorted him out and I don't even know if they handcuffed him. They went to handcuff him, the state police. Were you there for that?
no, I wasn't there. I had already left.
But you were there. You knew that there was that
Allegations.
investigation about him sexually harassing, assaulting those three women,
Right, I remember that.
and the women, they weren't there anymore. We learned later that they all got promotions somewhere else. They got promoted. I don't know if you've seen any of them. Their names on the news and like other facilities. Like they're pretty high up there.
Okay. Right.
So that's what happened
One,
to them to keep them silent. And then
right,
Barry Smith got arrested. What became of that was they gave him basically the deal: resign, and we'll get rid of these charges. Same thing to that one Chester warden too. When they found out he was giving gifts to the parole agent or the members of the parole board,
wow,
resign, and no investigation will happen. So
right,
those parole agents that were taking gifts are still employed, and will never know what happened. What were those gifts for? And that money
right.
was stolen too from the inmate welfare fund.
Huh.
So every time I hear stuff like that, it's like two types of justice.
Right,
Because had they came up to me and said, Mr. Rakita, if you resign from selling drugs, no investigation will happen. You can keep. Oh, and Smith got to keep his retirement. They all get to keep their money. And if they would have said that to me,
right,
I would have retired. I had probably close to $1 million when they
right.
arrested me. We don't get that deal.
We don't get that
So,
break.
so this judge, all right, I'm gonna do some investigating on this judge. Her name was what?
Oh no, it's the new judge,
Yeah, but that
Bronson.
was your trial judge, right?
My trial judge, is the one who got kicked off the bench. Right.
Yeah.
That was
But your
that was
trial, I
when
mean,
they.
your trial happened. They didn't give you a
Right.
new trial.
No, they didn't.
So what I'm saying, Hattie, is it sort of makes sense that you have a Brady violation because you had a corrupt judge. You know what I
Right.
mean? And who knows
Well,
what else is in there? Have you gotten your H file?
yes, I did get my H file, and the lawyer said this wasn't in the H file. However, talking to some of the dudes in here, I actually had one dude, lawyer, bring him his H file, and he said he went through his own H files. He do his legal stuff. He said, and when he called the lawyer and said this is the lawyer said, well, I ain't find nothing. He said, what do you mean you ain't find nothing? He said, well, I ain't find nothing, blah, blah, blah. He said, what you mean? You didn't see this, and this? He was like, wow, I didn't realize that was an issue. He was like, no, because I'm telling you it's an issue because of da. So, in my opinion, my lawyer said that it was nothing in my H file but statements. You got to remember, when the situation happened, the same night they picked up my rappy. The next day, they came and took her down to the police station and questioned her. Right? She gave up a statement. A week later, they went and picked up my other rappy. A month and a half later, they picked me up. So in between that, they didn't have all they did was going off the statements that they got from my co-defendants and a couple of their friends who they gave the story to. Of course, one of them said, oh yeah, she called her girlfriend to go check on the house, and one of the young boys said he seen people coming out the house after the situation. Now, I also have a affidavit from from the young boy who said he seen the people come out the house. Um,
Where the murder happened.
right, when the murder happened. And his description he gave was of a guy he said was 5'11", braids in his hair, and a goatee.
You're not 5'11", I know that.
I didn't have braids in my hair, and I always have a beard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So who the
Yeah.
hell did you see? So who the
All
hell
right,
did you see come out this house?
all right. Is that statement in your H file?
That statement was in my trial.
No, in your H file, too. Was that in there?
It was probably, I don't know if it was in the H file. I know it was in the file because I have the statement. They definitely gave us that statement. But the young boy, when he made the affidavit, he said basically that the detective was telling him what to say about me. It was after the fact. It was after they talked to my co-defendants. You understand what I'm saying? So they gave him information, and he wrote an affidavit basically saying that the cops, forcing him, coerced him into making a statement against me, stuff and so on. He said Detective Baker came in there and yelled at him, threatened him with life in prison and jail. You're going to charge him with the murder and all that type of stuff. He literally said that in his affidavit. Now what they saying is I filed the affidavit too late. What happened was this. I was in Cole Township. I was in Housedale. It was during the pandemic. He made the affidavit. It was in the process of him denying the judge denying my PCRA 907. So I sent in the affidavit asking him to add this to the record, right? However, I got the paper. I got the same envelope. They sent back the envelope with a sticky pad saying the envelope was empty. It's like I just didn't put the. Yeah, they said I didn't put the affidavit in there, so I redid it. But by the time it got to the court had already denied my PCRA. So I asked the Superior Court to add it to the record. You understand what I'm saying? They saying it was too late for me to do that. This is one of his arguments in his opinion right now. Because when we went up to the next court up, I hired the lawyer Zach Goldstein. Zach asked for a remand to the lower courts to be able to bring in the affidavit and the information they gave him, because I asked them. I also asked them for any evidence that they had pertaining to the detectives, to about 4 detectives. They only gave me one little stupid ass paper pertaining to Detective Baker. So when I hired my lawyer filed his appearance to the Superior Court. The district attorney gave him a whole packet on Detective Baker. So he's in his remand. He asked for a remand. Listen, can y'all send this back down so I can bring in all this information that they didn't give my client, and when he filed his initial PCRA, and I would like to file this affidavit on his behalf because he only sent it in a couple of days after, so the case may be. They denied me. Told me no, he couldn't, no remand, and they denied it, and we had to do a whole new PCRA under the affidavit and the newly discovered evidence that they gave him. So that what makes my 4th PCRA, and that's where I'm at now. The argument with the detectives and all that. Yep.
So I mean, it makes a difference if you if you're paying basically. The courts are not the courts and the district attorney's office. They keep information, papers, evidence. They keep evidence from us.
They do.
And you'll never see all of the evidence that was there. I mean, I have heard of some boxes that, like Mumia Abu Jamal's. I mean,
yes.
They found that one paper in his box that said it was from one of the witnesses, basically writing to the DA, "Where's the rest of my money?" I mean, I don't know if they got hip because that was back in the 80s.
Right.
So since then, I'm sure they learned to throw that kind of stuff away.
No, they actually found some stuff like that, and the guy, when they moved into Cole Township, they found exactly the same thing in a guy's case up there.
What year was his trial?
His year, he was down for 20 years.
So that's fairly new.
Yeah, that's new. And they found out that he found out that the DA was paying this dude. They moved him from Philadelphia and put him in a damn hotel in Jersey so he can come. They can get him to come and testify. They paid for the hotel. They paid him to testify. They gave him money, took care of his family and everything. And they found it in the file.
What baffles me about our court system is they can do that. That's actually legal, but they're supposed to tell the defense. They can pay people to testify. But if the defendant, us, pays a witness, what's that called? Bribery.
That's called, right.
Why is it not
Well,
bribery for them?
it's a double standard, of course.
It's not
And I
an equal justice system.
It is not an equal justice system. And I have this thing I say, it's not justice, it's just us.
Where have I heard that before?
Yeah,
I've
it's
heard
not
that.
justice. Right, it's not justice, it's just
Just
us.
us.
Yup,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And that's how they perceive, the criminal justice system. You know what I mean? It's just us. We don't care about nothing else. Ain't about justice. It's just us. We can do what we want to do, however we want to do it, and this is what it is. We know our way around it. We know our finagle. Like you said, the judge should have been reprimanded. She should have been sued. Anything. But what they said was, no, 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 don't worry about it. Just go ahead and get off the bench. Retire early.
And when it comes to mistakes by judges and prosecutors, it's not, like somebody ordering, a sandwich. I mean, these are people's
Right.
lives. How many people have been exonerated because of the judge and the prosecutor tampering with evidence? And then,
Yeah.
and if you haven't noticed, some of them, because if they're not retired, they're still working. They still
Yep.
get to be employed, even though, hey, we have to let this guy go. You seem to have held this evidence, this that would have
Right.
proved his innocence. Vice President Harris, she withheld evidence, and somebody went to death row because of it. And when they asked her why did you withhold the evidence, she said it was basically because she knew he was capable of a crime like murder or something like that. So she felt like she was protecting the community by doing that. That's how they
Wow.
justify it.
Wow. And I don't have, I don't know what's in the H file per se, because he never brought it up to me, never showed it to me. However, I do have a homie who, some of the guys who went home in their exoneration, they are working with the Liberation Foundation, I believe. And they've been home for the last 2 years or whatever. But they talked to a couple of guys on the block, and I've been in different jails with them. And their whole thing was, listen, man, if your lawyer don't mind, get us the H files so we can go through the H files. And when I brought it up to my attention to my lawyer, he was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I think they must have signed some type of. Anybody can't go down and get the paperwork, can go down and get your H files anymore. It has to be your lawyer. So it's a lawyer out there.
When did that start?
About a year or so ago.
All right. Because before I left prison, I did an appeal for somebody, and they just sent the H file to the jail.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, we ain't getting the H files, and that's like one of the things.
I know. I
the
can't
issue.
believe that they did it. It was almost like they just were like mad about something, and they were like just to spite like the judge or something. But yeah, they sent it. And, I mean, he brought it to me. He's like, "Look at this," and it had like every detective in his case. It had their complete misconduct record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that was, yeah, the DA's office did that. What's her name? I think that's the one who was doing that. Because a couple years she was doing that for a little while, and then they must have said something to her that made her stop doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because I had wrote her for something and she didn't respond back. But when my lawyer asked
They
for,
suppressed her.
right, they suppressed her. But my lawyer asked for something, and this was just recently, last year. I didn't even have this information, but I don't know what my lawyer asked for. But they sent. I have names on my case. Dude named something. Damn. I have five people on my case who had misconducts.
5 detectives.
No, one was a police officer. The other one was a sergeant in the a sergeant in the homicide department. The other one was a detective. Yeah, two of them was detective, and Baker. Yeah, but 3 detectives. But
But they're all cops.
they're all cops. They're all yes. And the thing is, I didn't find any nexus to my case except for. And I'm gonna say with that because she got on the stand and testified, right? that and she is the crux of the whole situation. She stopped me and said, she said that she didn't stop me. She said that she got a wanted poster from a detective in the 18th district who gave it to her. She gave it to a friend in the 19th district, and that's who pulled and the cop pulled me over from the 19th district. So the problem is this: they never had the wanted poster. They never brought it to court. They never showed it. They never even had it in my records at all. They never called the detective who to verify that they even gave her that wanted poster, when they gave it to her, and what was the point of you giving it to her. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They never called the detective who she gave it to verify that he got it from her and why and when to make it a legal stop. Because my lawyer was arguing, well, listen, can't that have been stale information? How long did you have it? And then you gave it to your friend in another department. Do y'all usually do that? Ain't it usually supposed to be some type of, login? The detective's supposed to be doing that? Now, she lied. Her misconduct was the fact that she lied about her internal affairs report. She lied, and they said that they investigated her because she had a friend who was going through with his baby mom or something like that. He called her. She went and did something. Then she said, no, it was me and my partner. Her partner said, bitch, no, it wasn't me and you. You did such and such, such and such. I ain't had nothing to do with that. You went over there and harassed some people, basically. And she lied, trying to cover it up, saying, no, I didn't do this. Da, 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 da. She had a history of her phone record of talking to this criminal bull for the last year or so. She said she never talked to him before, but here you go in your phone records. After they did the investigation. So I'm trying to say basically is, if I would have knew, this happened during my trial, she was going through this while she got on that stand. They didn't find her guilty until 2 months afterwards, but she was still under investigation during that trial. You understand what I'm saying? So it was like, is that that's a Brady violation also. So he brought that up a little bit in the argument, like, yo, he got all these cops just had misconducts against him. You know what I'm saying? And I told him to argue the fact, I said, you ain't got to argue it, but bring up the fact that I even had the jury instruction. You see what I'm saying? I even had the jury instruction because even though it's like a moot point, I guess, because it was in front of the judge anyway already, and he denied it. But my whole thing is, this is the record. Cumulatively, all these things that happened in my case, cumulatively, should give me a new trial.
Well,
period.
Let me ask you this: what do you think it was that persuaded the jury to find you guilty?
I'm gonna say my statement against myself, more so than anything else, because they got up there and read my statement.
And when you were on Xanax.
And I never was able to tell them that I was high. I was never able to tell them the circumstances surrounding my interrogation.
You probably don't even remember that. And a lot of people, especially those who get to serve on a jury, don't know what Xanax does to a person.
Right.
I took it a few times, but every time I took it, I can't remember what the heck happened. I remember the one girl I was with, she would tell me the next day what I did, but it's like, I don't remember. I don't remember getting up or saying that or doing that. I mean, I didn't do anything crazy, but it was just like I couldn't remember any of it. I mean, they're telling me I got up and went outside. I don't remember. Right. That's actually kind of scary.
It is. Well, we call them dum-dum pills. That's what we call them in the hood, dum-dum pills, because they make you stupid. You forget. The thing is with me was, I used to take them so much. I guess I used to take 2, then I started taking 4. I got up to about taking 10 a day. Now, mind you, I sold them. That was my hustle. My drug deal was Xanaxes and syrup and stuff like that. I sold that stuff, so I always had it. What happened was, anytime I take this syrup with the pills, that what makes me forget, and I start getting rams, like starting to want to fight and all the crazy shit. But that's only when I take the syrup with the pills. So that particular day, I remember it very well. I had just copped. I was coming from West. I come through West.
What year was it?
This is 07 when I got stopped.
In Philadelphia.
I remember. in Philadelphia. '06, my fault. It was March of '06. Uh, and I remember I told my nephew, I told my cousin, I said, look, I said, drop this off on the block. I dropped everything off with the young boy. I said, take me to my youngin' crib. And I went to the shorty crib. On the way from up north, I had dumped, because I said, look, I ain't hustling today. I'm gonna give it to the young boy. I ain't doing nothing but chilling. So I literally said that in my mind. So I took me some syrup, and I took me 2 pills, and I dropped everything off to the young boy. Then when I got to her crib, she on the phone trying to get something fixed on her phone or something. She was in the crib. I was like, all right, blah, blah, blah. I went upstairs, and I laid down. I was chilling. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm laying down, I'm chilling. She come upstairs. She was like, I'm about to go get something to eat. And I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah. So I got up out of bed. I said, all right, boom. I grabbed the Xannies. I was like, what you going to get? She said, I'm going to get such. So I took some more Xannies. I took 4 more Xannies, I believe, 4 or 5 more Xannies. Then we walked out, and I got stopped by the cops. That's when they stopped me and arrested me. So mind you, I had just took the pills in the syrup. I wasn't high yet. It ain't hit me yet. You know what I'm saying? So by the time we got down to the station, whatever, I was still lucid, and I said, "Make the fuck out of here! I ain't got no rap for y'all." I remember that. I remember them coming in trying to talk to me. I was like, "Get the fuck out! I ain't got no rap for y'all, nigga. I don't know nothing about what y'all talking about, blah blah." Then when it started hitting me, they came in a couple of times, but I think I was too high to talk to them. You know what I'm saying? And then later on, the next day, I remember ramming. I remember saying some crazy shit to him about the Taliban and shit like that. I don't know. I was tripping.
And did they have you sign it? I guess they would have signed the affidavit.
Right. Yeah, they had me sign everything, but like I said, it was after the fact. And then when I got down, when they took me out of the room and they took me downstairs and I fell asleep again, and I woke up, I was like, where the fuck am I at? And they were like, bro, you in the Brown house. So you do it. I was like, what? And I just don't remember. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So it was like, damn, man, I believe that what really got me hanging right now is my own statement. So this is why I brought up the argument about Detective Peterman. And this is why I have always argued the fact that, listen, I was in that room for 20 hours with no food, with no drink, and no use of a bathroom. That is coercive tactics. Before I gave a statement.
Yeah. You know, there's a whole show about that. Those
really?
Interrogations.
Yeah.
And I mean, from back then, especially in Philadelphia, that's why a lot of people are getting out, because of what happened in those interrogation rooms. Remember Lamont on J Block?
Mont? What Mont?
Lamont.
Light skin?
Yeah, I think he was light skin. He was young. He was a juvenile lifer, and it was Pitts and Dove, Detective Pitts and Dove, on his case.
Oh.
And they basically beat him up in the interrogation room.
I remember that.
And he's home now.
Right. And you know, that's my argument now. It's like basically the interrogation practice was what it was. And yeah, I said they coerced me. The judge also said in his opinion that I never said that they coerced me. What the fuck is the argument for? If I'm telling you that I was in there for 20 hours, no food, no drink, and that's coercion.
So he wants you basically to say the word coercion. He can't interpret it.
Right. Basically, he never said that they coerced him.
These judges, these courts, man, they look for any little thing. And the crazy thing is these case laws. These case laws, there's a case law that they can use to basically shut you down, and then there's a case law they can use to let you go. It's just a matter of what judge.
Right.
Your rights matter of what judge you get, what mood they're in.
That is true. That is true.
Did you try to suppress your statement?
Yes. That's what I tried to suppress the statement and all the evidence at trial, before trial. I did that. Right. And that was one of the reasons why I tried to suppress it, because I'm saying basically it was coerced. Y'all kept me in the room for 20 hours. That was coercion, bro. You know what I'm saying? And the judge saying, well, you ain't never said you was coerced.
This is the judge that was resigned.
No. This judge right now. The
The-
judge I have in front of right now.
But I'm talking about before the trial.
Yeah, she denied me too. She
That's
denied me because I'm telling you now.
well, that's the
if it
one that
would-
really would have mattered if you would have, because if you would have had it suppressed before a trial, then it wouldn't have been used in trial.
Right, right. But now what I'm saying is, had we had the information, that could have been used at the suppression hearing too, to make it more suppressible. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
These people did this, and this is a proven fact. Hey, look, man, I think you got
Yeah.
how much time we got left?
Yeah, they're gonna cut it off any minute, Hattie. Oh, let Bashir know. I think the money is on the phone. I think I did it right. They took the money, so. And
Alright.
anytime you wanna do this, man, just give me like a little heads up.